So appreciate everybody being here tonight. My name is Doug Peterson. I'm Executive Director with Saskatchewan Soccer. And I'm going to thank you all for being with us and introduce Saskatchewan Soccer Association President Lisa Bagliardi to bring us through the opening. Thanks. Turn it over to you, Lisa.
Thanks, Doug. Thanks everybody. On behalf of the Board of Directors and staff, I want to welcome all member organization and your representatives to the call. We have some new members joining us today for the first time, and we're happy to have you with us. Also want to welcome our guest, Tim Burley from Rafflebox. Thank you for joining us tonight. Once again, this year on March 20th, we'll be hosting our AGM online. We hope that we will know more about the outdoor season at that time, but regardless, it'll be a great opportunity for us to connect with membership and look back at 2020 and look forward to 2021. Based on the information we received from the business response in January and then today's news that the current restrictions are extended until March 19th, which wasn't a surprise so much for support. Tonight we'll do a brief update on the return to soccer plan, and then we'll be looking forward to the restrictions being loosened at a later date. The board had asked Doug to put together the board has asked Doug and staff to create a comprehensive stimulus strategy. Our hope is that this strategy will help member organizations get back to pitch when we can in the spring. We feel this is a unique opportunity for us to offer incentives, and we encourage all members to re-engage and prepare for the outdoor soccer season. While we don't have a crystal ball, we are hopeful that we will see an increased participation in this outdoor. Having trouble talking tonight, guys, sorry. We'll have increased participation for outdoor, and will be motivated and excited to be back outside with their soccer communities again. We'll continue to work with our sport colleagues across Canada and provincially, and with you, the members, to monitor and adapt throughout 2021. These calls are an important part of the process, and we thank everyone for participation tonight and forward. With that, I'll hand it back over to Nicole to go through tonight's agenda. Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa. So tonight we will go through a brief return to soccer plan update, and then we will talk about the comprehensive stimulus strategy plan that Lisa referred to, and then some other brief updates will follow. Important to note, logistics tonight, Eden will be taking care of the logistics. So if you send me a message, I might not see it. So if you're having any technical difficulties, you can just message Eden directly. Or if you have a question, you can message the entire group. So return to soccer plan update. The government released today that the restrictions in place are now until March 19th. And this isn't surprising to us. Last month, we were notified by the business response team that we probably can't expect a return to play. And when we say return to play, we mean return to games until the end of March. So we continue to work with SaskSport and other provincial sport governing bodies to try to get ahead of what the guidelines might look like for the outdoor season. And we will communicate new information to you as it comes available. And we have a lot of members on the call tonight that haven't returned to soccer yet. So we are going to be hosting 2 return to soccer webinars for those members, which I will talk about a bit more later on. So Bill C-23 update, loss of insurance. Recently there was a lot of concern about there not being any liability insurance for sport related to COVID-19. So the new legislation, if passed, will confirm and clarify protections for individuals and organizations from litigation based on COVID-19 transmission if there has been good faith compliance with emergency orders and other applicable laws. So this just reinforces the importance of completing a return to soccer plan, and as well as the Canada Soccer Risk Assessment Tool. If you don't know what either of those things are, that's okay. You should probably attend the webinar that I'm going to talk about. So where there's gross negligence, if this is passed, liability protection still would not apply. And similar laws have recently been passed in Ontario and British Columbia already. So the target final approval for this bill is this spring. So we will keep membership informed on that as well. So developing a return to soccer plan webinar, like I mentioned, these are geared toward organizations that are currently planning for their first return to soccer since the pandemic began. But that being said, all organizations are welcome if you're looking for a refresher. We'll go through what your requirements are, programming possibilities, things like that. So there's 2 dates available there. The links were in last Friday's communication and they'll be in this Friday's communication as well. Registration is required. If there's not enough registrations, then they'll be postponed or canceled. And they will be the same webinar. So no need to register for both, just one or the other. With that, I will open it up briefly. If there's any return to play questions, we could also revisit it at the end here as well. Eden, do you have any messages in the chat there?
No questions here. Okay, perfect.
So we will move on to the return to play stimulus strategy. So like Lisa said, we put together this strategy to help member organizations return to the pitch this year. And there's many components to it. The first one is Raffle Box, provincial ride fundraiser. Then we're going to talk about a player engagement opportunity, MAP grant, indoor support funding, COVID relief funding, outdoor registration fees, referee fees, SSA grants, and then external funding opportunities. So the goals of this strategy are to support all your member organizations to be in a stronger position to return to the pitch and to continue to offering quality programs to your players. We want to reduce the financial burdens brought on by the pandemic and to support your efforts to increase your number of participants, expand your organization developmental opportunities, and strengthen your local capacity and assist with promotion of soccer. We also want to encourage engagement with new partners and members and underrepresented groups. And we want to reduce the barriers of participant registration by supporting member organizations in maintaining reasonable registration fees. And we also want to offer player engagement and fundraising opportunities that offer your organization a high level return while also supporting your volunteer and staff capacity. So there will be some criteria for these different stimulus packages. So you must meet all the requirements of membership renewal prior to the AGM. So the deadline to get your membership renewal is March 15th. So you want to make sure you meet that deadline. You must meet all return to play requirements, which is the development of return to play plan and the Canada Soccer Risk Assessment Tool. You must meet the registration requirements. It's outlined under the funding program. So different programs might have different registration requirements. And then these are considered benefits, not a right of membership. And it's granted to those member organizations that work in harmony, work and align their programs and operations with our strategic plan, are in good standing, and are compliant with the bylaws, policies, and directives as the SSA, as determined by the SSA's board of directors. So with that, we were going to talk about Raffle Box, which is a fundraising opportunity that we are currently looking into. And member organizations will be able to opt into this if they are interested. And with us tonight, we have Tim Burley from Raffle Box. So I will invite Tim to do a brief presentation on what it is all about here.
Good evening, everybody. I'm really happy to speak to you. Kind of showing you some of the opportunities that we're working on with provincial sports organizations across the country right now. Any questions throughout the presentation? I'm not sure how you want to field them, but feel free to reach out and I'm happy to answer.
Perfect. Yeah, if people just want to put up their hands, or you can type a message in the chat box if you have one.
Perfect. So yeah, we're a national company, and right now we currently operate in Alberta, the Atlantic Canadian provinces, and then we're actually moving into Ontario, British Columbia, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba. So we received confirmation last week that we will be able to operate in Saskatchewan within the next 2 weeks, which is great news. So I'm going to try and provide you as clear of an overview as possible. So I'm sure that everybody on the call here this evening has been at a venue and you've participated in a 50-50 fundraiser, or most of you have probably run them yourselves through your organizations at some level or capacity. What we've done is we've taken that traditional in-venue 50-50 process and we've adapted it to the online world, which I can honestly say we're working with hundreds and hundreds of organizations, and it's just ever expanding given the current landscape of fundraising at the moment and everything having to be online to avoid physical contact and dealing with cash. Sure, we can move along. Sorry. So I kind of spoke to that already, traditional versus online. And we can keep going, sorry. I'll get into the nuts and bolts. I don't want to take too much of your time this evening. We'll get into the components that are specific to member organizations. So essentially what we have is we have an online platform where people can go to it and purchase their tickets in real time. So from this slide, you can see the jackpot on the top and the running tally. The model that we're looking to establish with the Saskatchewan Soccer Association is actually joining the member associations into one pot. And the great thing in doing that is you can actually track and monetize the success of each different association and be compensated as such. So if one organization is trying very hard and they're seeing significant results, it's actually known to the public because there's the ability to see the top fundraisers. So we can move along to the next slide too. So the in support of, so this is features if we were actually going to utilize it for a particular player. So with the model that we're running right now, we have this set up for Soccer Nova Scotia. They launched it 4 weeks ago. They're having great success so far. They have over 20 other associations participating. So they're in phase 1. So you can actually select which organization you want to support. And each of those organizations in turn has their own unique URL and website where it can actually show the results. This would be phase 2 if we ever did get to this point where you can actually track it down to players. So Soccer Nova Scotia is going through the process right now of determining whether they're going to allow all the member clubs to publish the players, and then the players in essence would be able to fundraise as well on top of the associations. And this whole slide here just shows some gamification where we can offer prizes for the top sellers from each association. We can move along to the next slide, please. Perfect. So the biggest difference here obviously is the tickets get emailed to the person in real time. So when you do make that purchase with your credit or debit card, you receive an email with your tickets for that particular raffle. A nice component here too is you can actually brand the tickets that are sent out, and there could be sponsorship opportunities there as well. We can move along, please. Sorry.
No worries.
Excellent. So it just kind of shows the email notifications here as well. So this is great because when an association is out there selling, they can actually have knowledge of who's making purchases, and then our system actually sends a thank you to them from the organization itself. So it's a nice barrier where you can see who's actually supporting your organization, and in turn, there's an automated email that's going out to thank them from your organization. So if there was one community that, you know, let's say Yorkton Soccer Association was making sales, it's going to go out from Yorkton Soccer Association. So there's the good kind of relationship there where it actually there's communication going back and forth. Next slide, please.
Oop. There we go.
Perfect. So the real-time ticker is it can get branded into your website. So if you were to go to Soccer Nova Scotia right now, on the right-hand side of their website, you could see a ticker that's actually showing the live raffle sales. And as something happens, somebody makes a purchase, it goes up right on the screen for them without having to refresh it. So it's just constantly updating. And anybody that goes to the website can click on that ticker, and it's actually going to take them to the sales portal. Next slide. Yeah, so I mean, this is just a general overview of, you know, the world has shifted to go online as opposed to traditional selling methods. And is it possible for me just to share my screen? Is that okay? Or?
Yep, for sure.
Perfect.
Let's see here. There you go. You should be able to take it now. Eden, you might have to give permission.
All good. So I'm just going to go to the Soccer Nova Scotia website here. So these are just a number of the different raffles that we're running right now. So Soccer Nova Scotia just ended. We'll go to
Tim, I made you co-host there. We're not able to see your screen yet, but does the share screen come up for you?
I thought I took control. My apologies. Okay, there we go. Yep. I'll share my screen.
There you go.
Perfect. Apologies there.
Yep.
No, so I just wanted to give you a look and feel of how it actually looks. So Soccer Nova Scotia, anybody that wanted to go in and make a purchase, all these soccer associations are participating. So if you selected one of those, it would take you to the purchasing side. And when you made the sale, it actually goes into the top fundraiser side. So you can actually see and monetize each of the participating clubs. And the great thing about this arrangement is the funds are going to the clubs themselves based on what they're selling. So it does incentivize everybody to participate. Some of the smaller organizations, like I grew up just outside of East Hants, which is a small community. And I'm sure that $680 doesn't look like it's a huge number in the grand scheme of things, but that's a lot of fundraising dollars for a really small community. So it's all relative to the size. As you can see, the Halifax area where all the large clubs are, they generally are finishing in the top 5. But essentially it's a member benefit. So any association that's participating, it actually allows the group to go out and make what they want of it. So I guess that's a quick rundown of the platform itself. I don't want to overcomplicate things. Essentially, it's a platform that can get utilized today, given the landscape of the world and fundraise online, and the aspect that there's minimal work involved. So for these organizers of each of the soccer associations, essentially all they're doing is posting through social media and sending out an automated email to their membership base each week. And in return, they're raising thousands of dollars. Sorry, that's all I had to show there. Any questions or comments?
I'll just jump in for a second, Nicole. So our goal with this potential fundraiser obviously is to gauge member interest a little bit tonight. And our goal is to obviously return the vast majority of the profits back to the membership. So there's the 50% obviously goes to the winner, 35% gets split amongst all the sellers. Obviously, Raffle Box makes a percentage, and then there's the various costs associated to it. So virtually all the net proceeds will go directly back to the sellers is what our goal is with that. And so one of the things we're trying to do is determine interest. And then obviously if there is interest, we will get after the lottery license and try to get ahead of this, because Tim has said his organization's just new to Saskatchewan. So we think we can get ahead of this with your support, and the members can do some good stuff. Nova Scotia's goal is to, for their membership was to have them raise all of their soccer related fees as a result of this ongoing weekly raffle. So Tim, anything that I've missed there?
No, and you made a good point. So this is going to be a new concept to Saskatchewan. So being one of the first to market is going to be a huge advantage.
Sure. So what we'll do over the course of the next month is, of course, get members' questions and comments, but we intend to execute this. There's no real risk to it. The SSA will do the work on getting the license and offering it to you folks. Each member association would opt in. And again, in early conversations with Soccer Nova Scotia, this is working very, very well for them. So Nicole, if you want, you could take a few questions, but we have a number of other big pieces to get on to tonight. And so if there's more questions, maybe get them in the chat or get them by email after the meeting. I'll turn it back to you, Nicole.
Ryan from FC Regina is asking, what were the percentages divided out?
So I'll put it in the chat. 50% to the sellers and 50% to the winner, 35% to the sellers, and the rest is for the administrative costs and the Raffle Box marketing costs, etc. Okay? So those kind of details will work out once we know more from the lottery, but that's the plan that Soccer Nova Scotia has in place right now, and we were hoping to plan with that again, the proceeds going back to the membership. SSA is not going to retain much of this unless there's direct sales that come to us for some reason. Okay.
I can allude to, we're currently working with over 100 associations, hockey associations across the country as well. And the same kind of model where 35% is going back to the seller.
Perfect. Are there any other questions?
Nothing in the chat and no hands up.
Perfect. We will move along then. Thank you so much for joining us, Tim.
Oh, thank you for
That was
having me.
very
Any questions after the call? Happy to field them. And yeah, have a great evening.
Perfect. Thank you.
Take care.
Okay, so next we'll move on to player engagement. This was a big topic when we did the Jamboard a month back for those that were on that call. So Rahim is going to talk about Techni Football.
Thanks, Nicole. So effectively, Techni Football
in March, April, and May. And effectively, there's no cost to the participant. The way it works is that every member organization will sign up as a team. We'll provide them with access. They can manage their player lists of interested participants, and it's about time accumulated. So within the app, there's a whole host of technical skills and drills that players can do at home, in their garage, in their living room. There's stuff with a ball, stuff without a ball. And the weekly leaderboards are based on time accumulated. So as players participate in it, they just log their time. SSA will have weekly prizes for players and monthly prizes for member organizations who participate. And then Technofootball also has their own recognition program that they manage from their end. So this is really meant to just provide an option for those that either want a bit more than what they're getting, or for areas where there haven't been access to indoor facilities, where it's a chance to re-engage with the participant before hopefully they get back on the field and sign up. Every organization within their own team setup can assign like their own activities and homework. They can build on top of it. So if you want to have your own prizes, that's great. There's a bunch of fun technical benchmark workouts as well. So you can sort of highlight and recognize through that as well. So moving forward, for those that are interested, there'll be a meeting later this week or early next week with the Technofootball team to learn a bit more about the product, how it will work. And the goal is a live launch on March 1st. So we'll be drumming up some just general social media around it. And then it's really for organizations to take hold of it and make it work for them and their participants. And we'll do a job of highlighting, but it's really simplistic. There isn't a great deal of time needed from an administrative component. Once the players are registered into the system, it's fairly straightforward. Kids are probably better at technology than we are at this moment in time. But anyone of any age that wants access into it can certainly get it. And then just try and promote, like I said, the different competitions, the different prizes, and sort of just celebrate soccer over the next couple of months as we get ready to return to outdoor soccer. Any questions at this moment in time? All right, if anyone does have questions, feel free to connect with me offline. We'll probably put out just a quick communication after this if anyone wants to be a part of it, and then we'll move forward from there. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Raheem. Okay, so now on to funding options. So the first one is member organization stimulus credit, and we will be allotting up to $150,000 to this. It's available to all member organizations that meet the criteria, which is that they must renew by the AGM. They must offer programming in the outdoor 2021 season. Exceptions would be made for those that don't traditionally offer outdoor. They must complete a return to soccer plan and the Canada Soccer Risk Assessment as well. And this is only organizations that registered participants in 2020 or 2021 are eligible. So that would be everyone on this call, I believe, if it would exclude organizations that have been inactive for the last 2 years, basically. And it will be given as a credit, which can only be applied to 2021 outdoor or 2021 indoor fees. The second one is indoor support, which we've allotted up to $100,000 to. And this is available again to members that have renewed by the AGM and members that were active in indoor fall 2020. So the last indoor season that got cut short in November there. Those would be the members that would be eligible for this. And then as usual, there's also MAP grant funding. So that's another $239,000 in 2021. We're going to again make provisions for COVID like we did last year. So those would be communicated when the applications are released, and the application process for that will begin in April. And then furthermore, outdoor fees this year. For 2021, all participant fees will be at 50% of last year's, the 2019 fees. So that's $16,850 5. 16 for adult youth, 8 for mini, 5 for team personnel. We estimate the direct benefit to be $160,000. Referee fees, they will be at 50% for 2021. And then indoor fees, there won't be any fee increases, but at the moment they stay as they are. So the 32, 16, 10. And our target date to release any changes to those would be July 1st. And it would be based on the reopened Saskatchewan guidelines and where we are at with that. The SSA grants are still available. So we've allotted $20,000 to female professional coach development and referee development grants as well. So we strongly encourage you to continue applying for those. Your organization can apply on a participant's behalf if you covered the fees for the participant, or the participants can apply directly for those ones. And then external funding opportunities are also available, and we will continue to communicate those as well. So no, this is a lot of information, and we are going to send details on the application and eligibility process. So keep checking your emails for those. We strongly encourage you to take advantage of all the opportunities that you are eligible for. External funding references, I'm not going to go through these, but these are all on our website. We communicate them out in our communications as we get more information available. The first 5, the government funding opportunities, Stephen Porter on our staff is quite familiar with those. If you have any questions, you can ask him. The last one is the Jump Sport Sport Relief Fund. So they have a pretty comprehensive website, but if you're having trouble, we could try to help you out with that as well. Doug, did you want to add anything before I jump to questions?
Sorry, Nicole, my website's not been strong here tonight, but you can hear me okay?
Yep.
Yeah, so again, we're pleased with the package that the board has approved. We're excited for the opportunity that has for membership and to get the game back going. There's other things obviously we'll be doing in terms of our regular programming, and obviously we're going to continue to monitor COVID and adapt and be flexible throughout the year. But we're really pleased that we're able to put this package of funding and other opportunities together to really enhance the position of the member organizations to return to play if that becomes possible here this spring. So we're open to questions and comments from membership, Nicole.
Nicole, Ryan has his hand up if you're ready for questions.
Yeah, go ahead, Ryan.
Ryan Schlingford, FC Regina. Couple things actually. You got a couple points. Number one, just want a clarification on the $150,000. That's a pool, so that's like a pool amongst all members, I believe. Both of those numbers.
Yes.
That's not per, right? Just want to clarify.
No. Yeah, these are pools of funding. So this is the total amount that we've allotted. Yeah. And
figures as much with the MAP grant. Just want to clarify that just to make sure. And secondly, a question for you, about more or less another avenue that I think maybe fits into this is a collaborative approach by the member organizations within the soccer community to lobby the government. I've seen recently been brought to our attention that hockey received quite a large sum for some of their league plays and things like that. And I'm just wondering if there's an angle where we should be, as a group, lobbying Minister of Sport, Premier, like basically all around with maybe a collaborative letter to try to maybe sort out some extended programming for sport, more so than what's already out there.
I can take that, Nicole, if you'd like.
Yeah.
So Ryan, this is a topic we talk about regularly on our SAS board calls and even outside of those calls. And so just to clarify, the government works on that sort of one ministry model. I'm not sure that's the exact phrasing that they would use, but basically, the Ministry of Sport, for example, would have no leverage to support or help us in this cause. The Ministry of Sport finds out the rules and regulations at exactly the same time that Dr. Schwab and the Premier announced them. And that's true of other ministries, including education, etc. So Sask Health and the Reopen Saskatchewan team work on those pieces. So the lobby has to be, if there was one, has to be directed to that level. And there's no advantage to lobby Sask Sport or the Ministry of Sport based on the information we've had so far. Now, hockey has done something that they've got some attention, and certainly there could be value by some collective effort. And we've met last week, well, actually twice in the last week with Sask Sport in talking about how do we position ourselves with good information about the value of sport from an economic stimulator. Obviously, sport creates a lot of economic output and also incredible outputs on mental health and physical health. So we talk about that a lot at the table, but I'll tell you that, Sask Sport is not going to lead a lobby, and certainly, again, talked to them and had very honest conversations with them. What they're really looking for from us, and it's not to suggest we shouldn't do this, but they're looking for us to give them space so they can get through and make sport possible. I firmly believe that both Sask Health, BRT, and Dr. Schwab and the Premier are working really hard to keep sport open, but the numbers aren't working well for them. So Ryan, I think there could be some advantage to try to work collectively to lobby. But in my opinion, you're probably not going to get very far with it until the numbers change. So what we're trying to do is get ahead of the curve and find out what we need to do so that when they're more available to that information and that kind of discussion, that's what we're trying to do collectively with Sask Sport. But certainly within the soccer organization, if you felt there was value, that's something that energy could be put towards. But I'm not sure what the result would be at this point. So I don't know if that answers your question, Ryan, but that's some of the work that we are working with other sport colleagues on.
Yeah, I guess from my point of view, it's that I think like we're working through the proper channels currently. You're talking to Sask Sport, you're talking that way. It seems like the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and it seems like the hockey organizations went above or around that avenue and went basically in. Like I said, squeaky wheel gets greased. So they started to kind of, build the thing. The reality is that there's a lot of organizations hurting. I appreciate what you guys are doing from a financial aspect to try to prop some of our organizations up. Some of us are probably hurt more than others. Some are dealing with a whole other variety of issues than what an organization like mine is, because it's just the nature of the beast. We're kind of looking at June because I think that's realistic. I'm not trying to scare anyone, but talking to our facility provider and with their contacts we're like, that's still 4 months away though, if till we can maybe get back to some sort of normalcy. So if March 19th comes around and nothing's loosened up for us, it's roughly 60% of our revenues down the drain, right? So it's I think it's twofold for us. One is infrastructure. We put a lot of money in infrastructure in Regina. That's just what we do. I'm pretty sure other organizations across the province are paying bills into facilities and things like that. And those types of groups are municipally ran or whatnot. And I think there's a greater avenue to talk to the government at a higher level, because it's just not just about getting back to the sport. It's about having these organizations able to survive so that they can put money into infrastructure, the economy, and so forth. My perspective, I don't come to these very often. I thought I'd just get it across, but that's kind of where I'm coming from. So.
No, thanks, Ryan. And I think working with you guys on that, particularly with the facility operators, I think that we could learn more about. Obviously, there's been a number of subsidies that are out there in the field, and we'd have to understand, how that's worked and how it hasn't worked. But I think for me, one of the biggest areas, I think that we, can we get traction? Well, we won't know for sure. The government obviously is interested in keeping youth active, but if for some reason have decided that adults shouldn't be active in sport, which I think that's an area that potentially we could have some traction. So yeah, it would take a lot of collective work to do that, and we're not opposed to doing that with you, Ryan, and having these kind of conversations to figure that out if you're interested in that. So these are conversations we've again had at the board at some level, and we continue to have these conversations with our colleagues at Canada Soccer and SAS Sport. But yeah, I believe that hockey has jumped the queue, to say the least. A lot of the sports are very frustrated with that and have made that known to BRT, but I can tell you that was negotiated beyond and above BRT. So they have their level of pool, no doubt. And they also, by giving hockey some advantage, they also put other sports at risk. So we're all a bit frustrated by that, to say the least. And the question is, how do you gain the attention of Dr. Shahab and the various ministers or the Premier himself to make that case? So I appreciate your questions, Ryan, and we'd like to hear more. So we would invite particularly the facility operators to document their concerns and share them with us, and that can maybe form a foundation of some conversations going forward here, Ryan.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Okay, we will move along then. So this is the results from the poll that were in the Friday communication. Thank you to everyone that took the time to click on the response. So we asked, when will your organization open outdoor registration? And as you can see, the majority there are going to open registration in February and March. 3 were waiting for restrictions to be lessened, and 3 have already opened registration. So this is a small pool, 14 of 60 some organizations, but it kind of gives you an idea of what other organizations are doing right now and how they're planning. And a reminder, there is a 2021 season ramp training on February 25th at 7 p.m. So the link to register for that was in the last communication, and it will be in this Friday's communication as well. Promotion. I'm not going to spend too much on this area, but we want you to let you know that this is something that we are looking at. So we are in discussions with Canada Soccer and SAS Sport, both about how we can collectively promote sport and soccer. So we were curious what promotional supports would help you to encourage participants to come back, or if that's even something you're worried about, or if you even have the capacity to take on more registrations if you did promote, and then what kind of messaging we should have. So we were thinking along the lines of sport is safe, soccer is here when you're ready to return, things like that. So this is something that we're going to revisit, but if anybody wants to mention anything that they're doing regarding promotions right now, or you have any thing that we can do to support you, feel free to put up your hand or put it in the chat or email me after, and we'd be happy to hear. With that, I'm just gonna, is there any questions or feedback? Oh, I saw a hand up.
Go ahead, Hugh. You're muted, Hugh, in case you...
Okay, you got me now, right?
Yep.
Okay, yeah. Good evening, all. Just to fill you in, we're doing a bit of a check-in with our parents and with our membership in SUSC, trying to find out, what's going to be happening. And to be perfectly honest with you, we're having not a great response with parents. It seems that the second wave or this new strain of COVID is now starting to hit our group anyway on the west side. And I'll be very lucky if I see SUSC with 33% of its original members signing up this year. We tend to lose and will be losing a lot of revenue. That's obviously going to affect all our organizations. So again, until we have some sort of stability with the health system and we get the support of the government, right now I can't see us on the good side of it for possibly maybe 6 months at least. So it's not looking very favorable. So I like the idea of the fundraising. We'll probably be looking at that and talking about that, because any ways of revenue that we can muster up is going to be essential to not only ours, but I think everybody's existence if this keeps going on for the next year or so.
Thanks, Hugh. I'll just jump in on that, and I appreciate your comments there. I think one of the things we have to do is just try to really send positive messaging out. People are going to look for sport as a solution when we get a chance to reopen, and there's lots of conversations at the SAS sport level. Some sports thinks that we're going to be overwhelmed with demand, and that people are going to be really anxious to get back to sport. I think you're right, though, Hugh, that a lot of parents and probably the kids themselves are we're tired, and we don't know what's coming next. So people are in a wait and see mode, and that's what we're talking to you folks to see how can we get a feel on this? How can we continue to send positive message? This Techni project that Raheem was promoting, it gives people a chance to do something positive. Even fundraising for the potential of soccer through the raffle gives people some control and something they can produce outcomes. So we want to keep talking to you folks and finding out what the best ideas are from the ground level and the local level to figure out what the parents and the participants needs to make sure that when sport does open up, and we think that it will, but when is a whole other issue. But when it does open up, we want to be ready for them and serve them well, because I think people will be anxious to get back on the pitch if we get a chance. Thank you, Hugh.
Well, thank you, Doug. And Doug, just on that point, have we thought about having our own Saskatchewan podcasts where to generate, and you said a point, generate interest and passion, and to tell people it's okay, we are going to get back. Have we thought about having like podcasts where you can invite people on and stories on SAS soccer and that type of thing to generate interest? Doug, have we thought about that?
I don't think we've put a ton of energy into a podcast, to be honest with you, Hugh. What we've used is this medium, and certainly we can bring more guest speakers on, and we can arrange this call differently. This really is, I guess, in some ways geared more to the member organizations. But a general podcast, to be honest, we haven't. And I think we would obviously need some expertise, and we'd need a lot of content to drive that. But it's something that we can always consider, Hugh, and we would need to line up content, but and we could get, obviously Canada Soccer's got their podcast now, so we could probably learn something from them about what it takes to do something like that. But obviously we have some limitations with our staffing at this point as well. But a point taken, and I guess that's something we could have a look at, Hugh, and see if there's any value in something like that. Obviously it would have to be geared more for the participants and trying to get them excited, or the parents. So anyway, thanks for that comment, Hugh.
Thank you for your feedback, Doug. Thank you.
Yeah.
And Hugh, I think that might be a good idea for a sort of promotional strategy, maybe not in the form of a podcast, but sharing the stories of your participants during this time and all the work that your organizations have done. I think that's important as well. So that's something that we can look at from a promotional perspective as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Nicole, can I ask just generally if there's a sense that this, that members find that this raffle, obviously we got to work out some of the details here for you, but, and put it, you know, we would put it out there for people to demonstrate their interest. But is there general interest in that raffle, if you don't mind me asking?
We got some messages in the chat. Angel from VSA, yes. Mike from Yorkton, 100%. Tyler from Weyburn is interested for sure. Saskatoon Adult is interested. Kindersley,
Excellent. That's what we're looking for. Again, our design there,
Astra.
we're really interested in doing this on behalf of membership. Again, the chances, there's a lot of potential for this. In the first 2 weeks, I talked to Nova Scotia a week or so ago. In the first 2 weeks, they already had sales of 28,000. And they told a story about Nova Scotia, the firefighters there. Their pot is up to $200,000 a week. So, you know, if we collectively could generate a nice pot, then random folks start to buy into these raffles, and you can generate a real good pot. You can keep people who are interested, and if you can sustain that week by week, you're in pretty good shape by the end of it. So that's something we're excited about, and we do want to get in front of it because Raffle Box is just coming into Saskatchewan. So I'm seeing some very positive stuff in the chat. So thank you. That's what I was looking for tonight there.
Wonderful.
And the other piece, Raheem, maybe you want to jump in, but I'll ask again, is this piece around the Techni strategy with engagement of players, something that the athletes can do at home that's website directed, and they can have contests and they can track their own progress, those kinds of things. Is something like that of interest to membership as well, on behalf of their participants?
SUSC, Yorkton, yes.
Okay.
Weyburn, yes.
So what we tried to do here is, again, obviously we looked at the financial side of it. We've tried to get some player engagement side with the athletic side of it, on the training side, but also on the fundraising side as well. So that's good feedback, Nicole. I think that tells us that we're on the right track here.
Yes, for sure.
Okay, thanks. Thanks everybody for that.
Perfect, thanks. Okay. So moving on, reminder about the E-National Championships. So the Saskatchewan qualifiers are February 20th, and then the finals are the 27th to 28th. So we are just asking for your support to help promote this to your members. We have pretty good registrations so far. I think we've have the third most registrations out of all the provinces and territories. We have 40.
Newfoundland's out in front right now, Nicole.
Yeah, Newfoundland has a lot of registrations. They must have a lot of gamers. They have the most out of everyone, which is surprising. And then I think it's Ontario and then us. So we'd love to have more people engage with that as well. And it's going to be streamed on Twitch, which I don't really know what that is, but it's where you can watch people play video games. So that will be exciting and give players an opportunity for some competition. It's open to youth, 16 and older, and adults as well. And registration closes on the 19th at midnight Eastern time. So it's coming up quick. Next meeting is going to be online after the AGM, so March 20th. So in March, we won't have a regular weekday meeting like this. It will be held the same weekend as the AGM. So information is to come on that. And then reminders of some deadlines coming up here and events. So February 25th is that ramp training. March 4th is intro to starting a futsal program. So with the 2022 summer games coming, or winter games, sorry, coming up, and it being futsal's inaugural year in those. We'd love to see more organizations starting up futsal. So if that's something you're interested in, you're welcome to join us. March 5th will be when the AGM package is out to the membership. March 15th is the membership renewal, which is especially important this year if you want to be eligible for those funding opportunities. And then March 15th is also the Sask Winter Games coaching applications. So make sure you convey that opportunity to all your coaches. It's okay if they don't have futsal experience or education. They do have to have a minimum C license, but futsal education would be provided leading up to the event. And then March 20th is our AGM. So watch for the formal announcement to come out this week.
Nicole, Hugh has his hand up.
Yeah, go
Okay,
ahead.
thanks very much. Two questions for possibly Doug and Raheem here. And you start probably, Nicole. One is, when do you anticipate, maybe a bit of a silly question, but I got to ask it. When do you think you'll make the decision on that, if there will be or will not be a PSL this year? And also the second question is, any notification yet from the CSA as to if the club nationals this year will be finished until 22? Any answers, or can you give us any guidance on those two questions? Although we pretty well all know the answer, but in an official sense, Doug, anything coming back on that?
Well, I'll go on the CSA stuff and let Raheem deal with the PSL. Canada Soccer, obviously their goal would be to maintain hope, if you will, for as long as possible on the national championship. So they've obviously just recently canceled futsal, which was supposed to be an April event, and they held out till I think the second or third week of January before they announced that. I would expect, Hugh, that they will try to have a national championship if at all possible. They just announced today, for example, that their annual meeting is going online. But I think they'll hold out as long as they can possibly do so, Hugh, to hope that it turns around, that there is a date for that. I think some of the provinces will appreciate that approach and others will be frustrated with that approach. So I don't have anything to update on CSA National, so I'll turn it over to Raheem on PSL.
Yeah, we're still quite early in the process for PSL, so we will eventually determine a drop dead date for when we get past there won't be a PSL. But at this moment in time, it's still fairly early for us to make a decision on that. And we'll communicate out what our cancellation date is for the PSL later on.
Thanks, Hugh.
Are there any other questions or comments? Okay.
Nothing in the chat, Nicole.
All right, Nicole, then I just want to thank everyone again for being on the call tonight. It was so great to see so many members involved and some new folks on the call, so we appreciate that. We hope you found value in that. We got a lot of work to do here in the next month or 5 weeks, I guess it is, till the AGM to get that pulled together, and we appreciate your patience as we do. We'll think about the conversations we had tonight. You mentioned the podcast. Ryan brought up this notion of the lobbying piece and how we would do that to be effective with that is an important piece. So we're grateful for your time and energy and certainly all the effort you do keeping sport alive and soccer alive in your local communities. And let's just keep talking, folks. So you know where we're at if you have any questions, and please let us know. But otherwise, I want to thank Lisa and the board members for being on, and thank all the member organizations, and also for Nicole and Eden and Raheem for being available tonight. So any final comments from anybody? I'd appreciate that. Otherwise, we'll pass it on, and we'll talk again in the near future.
It's just Lisa here, Doug. Thanks for SSA staff, all your hard work to to make sure that we could get everything ready for tonight's call and let everybody know all the good stuff that's coming down the pipes. Thank you.
Lisa. We appreciate that. All right, folks, thank you so much. We really appreciate it, and let's stay in touch, and you'll be watching for the AGM, the package. All details will come out on March the 5th. We'll talk to you on March the 20th again online, and we'll have a lot of chance after the formal AGM is over to have open discussions like we are having and carry on. And the time we have the AGM, we will get the Premier's announcement a few days before that. So hopefully we'll know something positive by then, and we'll keep a good thought until the AGM. But if until then, keep up the good work, folks, and we will talk to you again. Thanks very much, everyone. Good night.
Thanks, Doug.
Thanks,
Good night,
everyone.
Doug.